So this is an example of a model by, let's see, who did this? The folks that wrote a book on driving fear out of the workforce. It's called The Cycle of Mistrust. You can find it on a website. Basically, you can use it to talk about trust between person A and person B. It could be Department A and Department B. And it's been very helpful for me to explain some of the concepts around why do people find themselves in a cycle of mistrust. So here's one way to think about it. So we'll talk about person A. Person A might have some negative assumptions about person B. I don't know where they got them from. They might have been in conversations with other people. They might have noticed some things. But anyway, they've developed some negative assumptions about person B, primarily in their intent. And I just remembered the authors of this. It's Kathleen Ryan and Dan Ostrike, if people want to know. So person A observes has some negative assumptions about person B. Okay, so that causes this person A to engage in self-protective behavior because they're concerned. They may not trust person B, so they're going to engage in self-protective behavior. What does that look like? So, for instance, if they've got something that they could share with person B one-on-one, but instead of doing that, they send out a memo to the whole department, or they send out, they talk to someone else about this, or anyway, they're engaging in some self-protective behavior because they're afraid of dealing directly with person B. So what does that look like from person B's perspective? To them, they notice this as they're observing some aggressive or frustrating or irritating behavior. What does that cause person B to do? That causes them to have negative assumptions about the intentions of person A. So, for instance, if you wrote that memo and said, instead of dealing with the person one-on-one, you sent out a memo and said, okay, just so you know that we have an absenteeism policy here and everyone needs to be on time to do the work. And person B knows that they were probably talking about them. That could cause person B to engage in self-protective behavior. What could that look like? Well, they could go and barge into the person's office and really give them hell for having written the memo and blaming them for not talking to them one-on-one. But anyway, they're going to engage in some self-protective behavior. It could become some kind of passive-aggressive behavior against person A. So what does that look like? Person A then notices this self-protective behavior, and they see that as aggressive or frustrating behavior. And all it does is it confirms these negative assumptions about person A, which causes them in turn to engage in self-protective behavior, and then the cycle continues on and on and on. So this is a very hard cycle to get out of. What are the things that we can do in order to slow down the cycle of mistrust? One thing that we can do is try not to make negative assumptions about the intentions of other people. Try to make either neutral or positive assumptions about the intentions of other people. Next thing, try not to engage in behavior that could be seen as self-protective. Try to stop this. So if you have the tendency to respond to an email and that you might think that might only just perpetuate the cycle of mistrust, instead of doing that, why not just talk to the person one-on-one or call them by phone? Same thing over here. When you see behavior in other people and you observe it, you could see it as aggressive or frustrating behavior. But again, try not to think about this in terms of negative assumptions. Try to make positive assumptions about why a person is doing it, and then try to keep from engaging in the self-protective behavior yourself. So I'm going to send the links to the resources on this. I think you find it very interesting. I found many groups to get good discussion out of when they might find themselves engaged in the cycle of mistrust and things they can do to at least slow it down, if not to reverse it.